A Course in Miracles, Workbook for Students, Final Lessons, Introduction. Our final lessons will be left as free of words as possible. We use them, but at the beginning of our practicing, and only to remind us that we seek to go beyond them. Let us turn to Him who leads the way and makes our footsteps sure. To Him we leave these lessons, as to Him we give our lives henceforth. For we would not return again to the belief in sin that made the world seem ugly and unsafe, attacking and destroying, dangerous in all its ways, and treacherous beyond the hope of trust and the escape from pain. His is the only way to find the peace that God has given us. It is His way that everyone must travel in the end, because it is this ending God Himself appointed. In the dream of time it seems to be far off, and yet in truth it is already here, already serving us as gracious guidance in the way to go. Let us together follow in the way that truth points out to us. And let us be the leaders of our many brothers who are seeking for the way, but find it not. And to this purpose let us dedicate our minds, directing all our thoughts to serve the function of salvation. Unto us the aim is given to forgive the world. It is the goal that God has given us. It is His ending to the dream we seek, and not our own. For all that we forgive, we will not fail to recognize as part of God Himself. And thus His memory is given back, completely and complete. It is our function to remember Him on earth, as it is given us to be His own completion in reality. So let us not forget our goal is shared, for it is that remembrance which contains the memory of God, and points the way to Him and to the heaven of His peace. And shall we not forgive our brother, who can offer this to us? He is the way, the truth and life that shows the way to us. In Him resides salvation, offered us through our forgiveness, given unto Him. We will not end this year without the gift our Father promised to His Holy Son. We are forgiven now, and we are saved from all the wrath we thought belonged to God and found it was a dream. We are restored to sanity, in which we understand that anger is insane, attack is mad, and vengeance merely foolish fantasy. We have been saved from wrath because we learned we were mistaken. Nothing more than that. And is a father angry at his son because he failed to understand the truth? We come in honesty to God and say we did not understand, and ask Him to help us to learn His lessons through the voice of His own teacher. Would He hurt His son? Or would He rush to answer him and say, "This is my son, and all I have is his"? Be certain He will answer thus, for these are His own words to you. And more than that can no one ever have, for in these words is all there is, and all that there will be throughout all time and in eternity. Final Lessons. Introduction. A cartographer spent his whole life making maps of a dangerous city. Not because he loved danger, because he believed danger was the truth. Every street on his paper had a warning label. Every alley had a legend of betrayal. Every bridge had a note that said, "Do not trust this." And the strange part was this: the more detail he added, the safer he felt. Because in that city, fear dressed itself as wisdom. If the world was ugly and unsafe, then vigilance felt like virtue. If the world was attacking and destroying, then suspicion felt like intelligence. If the world was treacherous beyond trust, then closing the heart felt like survival. So he drew and drew and drew, and the ink became his religion. One night, an old teacher knocked at his door. Not dramatic, not loud, just present. The teacher did not ask for his maps. The teacher asked for his willingness. The cartographer laughed and said he had been willing all year. He had been willing to study, willing to improve, willing to practice, willing to fix his fear. The teacher nodded, as if hearing a child describe hard work in a dream. Then the teacher pointed to a small phrase written at the top of the final page the cartographer had been avoiding. As free of words as possible. The cartographer frowned, because words were his safety. Words were his railings. Words were his proof. But the teacher explained without explaining. Words are ladders, not land. They help the mind climb above confusion, but they are not meant to be carried into the sky. Use them at the beginning, and then let them go. Because the point is not to become brilliant at reciting directions. The point is to be led. The cartographer felt something inside him resist that last line. Because being led means giving up authorship. Being led means admitting the mapmaker was not the guide. And that is why the next move is so absolute. Let us turn to him who leads the way and makes our footsteps sure. Sure footsteps does not mean a perfect world. It means a mind no longer guessing which voice is true. It means walking without having to consult fear for permission. It means the end of spiritual improvisation. The cartographer asked how to know the teacher could be trusted. And the teacher said, "Notice what the map has produced. A life spent preparing for betrayal. A mind that calls attack realism. A heart that calls distance discernment. That is the belief in sin at work. Not sin as behavior, sin as a premise. A premise that says separation happened and now punishment makes sense. A premise that makes the world look like a courtroom and love look like a liability. So when the text says the world seemed ugly and unsafe, it's not describing a world out there. It's describing what perception looks like when guilt is taken seriously. The cartographer finally saw what he had been doing. He had been drawing the face of guilt and calling it the world. Then the teacher said something that sounded like a threat until it was felt as mercy. This is the only way. The cartographer bristled, because the ego hates only. The ego lives on options. The ego survives on side doors. The ego wants spiritual ideas the way gamblers want systems. But only way isn't coercion. It's correction. If peace is given by God, then it cannot be found by bargaining with fear. If peace is given by God, then the root is not personal invention. If peace is given by God, then the ending is already appointed. That word appointed landed like a bell in a quiet room. Appointed means the ending is not a project. It is a certainty. It is the exit written into the dream before the dream seemed to begin. So why does it feel far off? Because time is the curtain the ego uses to delay what is already here. The teacher took the cartographer to a window. Outside, nothing looked different. Same street, same city, same sounds. But the teacher said, already here means guidance is not arriving later. Guidance is present now, beneath the noise, waiting to be chosen. The cartographer asked, if it's already here, why isn't everyone free? And the teacher answered, because they keep asking the city for directions. Then the teacher did something unexpected.
He handed the cartographer a lantern and said, now, walk with others. The cartographer panicked. Leaders. He didn't want that word. He had seen leaders in the city. They were loud, certain, violent. But the teacher said, leadership in truth is not above. Leadership in truth is ahead by one decision, one forgiveness earlier, one grievance less protected, one step taken without attack. So leaders of our brothers who seek the way but find it not means this: walk in such a way that fear is not being taught by example. Walk in such a way that forgiveness becomes visible. Walk in such a way that the mind sees a door where it believed there was only wall. Then the teacher named the function of salvation in one clean sentence: forgive the world. The cartographer expected it to say, fix the world, or improve the world, or make the world holy. But the teacher said, forgive. Because forgiveness is not kindness in the dream.
Forgiveness is the refusal to use the dream as proof that separation is real. Forgiveness is the undoing of the meaning that made the city terrifying. And that is why forgiveness is God's goal, not the ego's self-help plan. Because only God's ending ends the dream. The ego's endings always keep a souvenir, a grudge, a story, a special identity. But when forgiveness is given, something startling happens. What was condemned is recognized as part of God, not as form, not as behavior, as being. So the teacher explained the line that sounds impossible until it clicks. All that we forgive, we recognize as part of God Himself. Because forgiveness is not saying illusions are divine. It is saying nothing real was ever lost, even when illusions were believed. And when that recognition returns, memory returns with it. Not partial memory, complete memory. The cartographer then asked the question that had been burning under every paragraph. Why does the brother matter so much? Why does salvation reside in him? Why is he the way? The teacher led him into a room full of mirrors. The cartographer flinched because he thought it was a trap. The teacher said, "Every brother is a mirror the ego tries to weaponize. The ego looks at a brother and says, 'There's the cause of my upset.' But the Holy Spirit looks at the same brother and says, 'There is the place the cause can be undone.' The brother is not saving anyone. The brother is the meeting point where the mind chooses its teacher. In that sense, salvation resides in him because forgiveness must be applied to a relationship, not to an abstract concept. Forgiveness becomes real where judgment was preferred. So the brother is the doorway, because the brother is where the mind stops hiding." Then the teacher brought the cartographer to the deepest confusion. Wrath. The cartographer admitted he had always carried the idea that God was angry, even if he denied it with spiritual language, even if he said God was love. Somewhere deep, he feared punishment. The teacher said, that wrath was a dream, not God's dream, the ego's dream. The ego projected its own attack outward and called it divine. And when that projection is withdrawn, sanity returns. Then the teacher said the line that is huge. Anger is insane. The cartographer asked why. The teacher said, because anger assumes attack is real. Anger is not strong emotion. Anger is a metaphysical statement. It declares the Son of God can be harmed. Attack is mad because it tries to solve a hallucination with violence. Vengeance is foolish fantasy because it imagines peace can be purchased by making someone else pay for the guilt in the mind. Then came the sharpest word in the whole passage. Mistaken. The cartographer expected wicked, expected evil, expected unforgivable. But the teacher said, mistaken, and that single word dissolved the whole prison economy. Because punishment requires crime, but correction requires only misunderstanding. So the teacher asked the final question, the one the world cannot answer and remain the world. Is a father angry at his son because he failed to understand the truth? The cartographer saw the whole city collapse in that question. Because if the father is not angry, then fear is built on nothing. If the father is not angry, then guilt is not proof of reality. If the father is not angry, then attack has no justification at all. So what happens instead? The cartographer imagined a child running to his father saying, I didn't understand. Not defending, not bargaining, not performing, just honest. And the father does not strike the child for being confused. He rushes to answer. This is my son, and all I have is his. And the teacher said, that is what those words mean. And more than that can no one ever have. Because there is no more beyond all. No bonus beyond inheritance. No extra beyond God giving himself. So the cartographer finally understood the hidden purpose of the final lessons. They are not a harder curriculum. They are a gentler surrender. They are practice that uses words only long enough to remember what is beyond words. They are the mind dedicating every thought to salvation by forgiving the world. They are the end of the belief in sin. They are the acceptance that wrath was a dream. They are sanity restored. They are the brother recognized as the doorway. They are the ending God appointed, already here, already guiding, already present.